Have you ever felt?
Are you listening? Damn.
And welcome in, my people. It is our second episode of the Fantasy Lowdown. I am your host, Jesse Muller, aka J Muller05. And much like the season that has been Kyle Pitts, up and downs, I'm having difficulty actually loading my edited content. So what I'm going to do with this, it's going to be a little bit janky, but we're going to stream the actual footage live with you guys so you can see it with me. It's not going to be as perfect, but it's what we're going to have to make work in the time we have. I do apologize. Technical difficulties. It is what it is, but you guys are more than welcome to check it out with me and see what I'm talking about. So let's jump into the PFF recap right here. We're going to share this screen instead, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Now, you're probably thinking, Kyle Pitts, let's look into him and talk about him, right? Well, interestingly enough, it's been an odd season for Kyle Pitts, I will say. His last 2 weeks have actually been a trend in the negative direction, and that's not what we want to see. So we'll go to week 7 right here. We have the Falcons snap count against the Buccaneers game right here. And you see, they had 28 total routes run. Kyle Pitts, 21. So he's running 75% of the routes. That's not great. That's not good. He only saw 5 targets. 5 out of 22, it's solid. It's not ideal. It's less than 20%. That's not what we want to see him at. We want to see this offense consolidated around him and Drake London, and it's looking like Drake London is the 1 and Kyle Pitts is very much the 2 in this offense. So moving forward, it is what it is. Now, if you take Kyle Pitts and Jonnu's stats combined, that's 8 targets combined. That's nice between 2 of them. The issue is, look at the routes run for Jonnu Smith and look at the Kyle Pitts. They're both on the field a lot of the routes. Now, Jonnu's not as much as Pitts, but he's very much cutting into Pitts' role. And this is more or less the issue. Now, they're both playing part-time roles, 34 total snaps for Pitts, and he's being out-snapped by Jonnu Smith. Now, I know what you're thinking, right? You're thinking, well, that's okay, as long as he's seen all the routes. Problem is, he's not. Where Drake London is basically not coming off the field. He's coming off the field a little bit. Pitts is coming off the field a lot. And this is a trend that was last week as well, where we look at Kyle Pitts' stats and his game logs. He only was on the snap share in week 5, 51% of the time. He only ran 65% of the routes. So this is back-to-back weeks. He's been 70% or less with his routes run, right? And it's like, actually, this is the 3rd week in a row, excuse me. In week 5, he had a 65% route run rate. In week 6, it was at 70. And, last week, week 7, 75%. So that's actually 3 weeks in a row, 75% or less. That's not what we want to see. Particularly for tight ends, we are starving for tight end production. That's not good. So what do we make of this with Pitts? Well, this is kind of what I want to break down with y'all guys. So let's go to this tab instead. Look at metrics. Now, you can look at Pitts. All this stuff is going to look great. The problem is it's this Atlanta offense, right? His targets, he's 7th in targets. His target share, 19%. It's respectable. Target rate, 12%. Snap share, 64%. So you see how it's good, but it's not elite, right? And as you can tell, he's playing a lot in the slot snaps. He's playing outside, and he's really off the line of scrimmage. So if you have to look at Kyle Pitts as more of a wide receiver than you do a tight end, because he's drafted, earliest tight end ever drafted, right? Top 5 pick. And I just don't know what Arthur Smith's doing with him. We're kind of going back to the same problem we had with Pitts early on in his career, where it's like, all right, just use Kyle Pitts, right? Like, why would you guys spend all this capital? And this is obviously coming off the heels of the Bijan game where fantasy managers tilted. He was sick and all of that fun stuff, right? So we had that full just up and down roller coaster experience. But this has been Kyle Pitts' entire career, right? The metrics look great, but overall, like, fantasy points will go down to fantasy points. What is he looking at? It's just not good. Total fantasy point, 60.4. That's not great. When we go up, 8.6. He's as high than 13. Like, it's not good, folks. It's not good. So where do we go with this from Kyle Pitts? So this is what I'm trying to get you guys to talk about. I'm going to pull up the game footage here in a second as we can talk about the routes and really the snaps he's playing, what he's doing in this offense. I think Next Gen Stats really does a great job of highlighting his routes. He's downfield a lot because as you saw in player profiler, he was at 11 ADOT, which is higher than any tight end in the league. And that's what I mean. You have to think of him as a wide receiver. The problem is he's a wide receiver that's playing part-time. So if you're a wide receiver and you're not getting the full workload, what are we doing? And he has such high value in dynasty and even redraft. People love him. It's just, you just have to deal with the up and downs of Kyle Pitts. Unfortunately, it's not like it's just, you can put him into that Kansas City offense with Patrick Mahomes. That would be great. That would solve all of our problems. Unfortunately, we have Arthur Smith. We're still doing that, right? So he's going to be connected to Arthur Smith because the problem is the Falcons are winning and they might win this division. So why would the Falcons fire Arthur Smith, right? They're not going to fire Arthur Smith if that's the situation because, hey, guess what? You just won the division. And check out their schedule. They play cake quarterback after cake quarterback, and these matchups are fantastic for them. So guess what? They're really going to lean in what works for them, and that is running and the run game because that's what Arthur Smith specializes in, right? And it's literally where this offense is focused on Drake London. Bijan is getting his share of the work, and then it's Kyle Pitts is the third option in this offense. And if you're the third option in the Falcons offense and you're getting your work cut into by Johnny Smith, who's also an athletic tight end who can do some similar things too, this is a problem, right? So I've kind of had what we call come to Jesus moment on Kyle Pitts where I'm like, man, this is going to be frustrating. If you're a contending team, like, why would you buy into Kyle Pitts, right? Like, that's the thing you have to talk yourself. And I did this last year with the team, and I was like, you know what? Kyle Pitts too good. I love the talent, blah, blah, blah. I hate to say it, but situation matters, man. And if your quarterback is just not that good, this is a big time problem, right? So I am going to pull up our all 22 footage of Pitts, and I'll show you what I'm talking about here in so one second. Just let me bring that up to you guys. If you have any comments, shoot them in the chat. I would love to discuss this with you. But oh boy, I was just watching this game, and let me tell you, it was a roller coaster of emotions. I wanted to cry, I wanted to laugh, I wanted to just shake it off. It was everything, right? Because it's just he's literally not first read on a lot of looks, so that's a problem, right? Because he's not a focal point of the offense, and then he's coming off the field, and in some passing situations too. The thing with this is like that's kind of a giveaway to the defense. If you're coming off the field and they're running the ball, what does that tell a defense, right? Or if you're coming on the field and they're just passing the ball, like these are kind of giveaways. I think teams are kind of caught on to like what they're doing with Kyle Pitts, and it's just not good for fantasy. And the problem for, us managers is like we're hoping on something that I don't know if it's going to develop. But like the bigger problem is it's getting worse. It's not getting better. So we've seen a trend of 3 weeks in a row of this. And if that's the case, it's like, what do we do here, right? So let's pull this up. I'm going to share this tab real quick with you guys and show you what I'm talking about. All right, so we have our game tape footage right here. I'll show you. Now, as you can see, Kyle Pitts on the outside top front of the screen just runs a little curl. There is nowhere to go. So basically, he just sits down on the curl. It's right into the zone. He literally runs it right into the man, and that's not a pass you're going to make. And you can watch from Desmond Reader what he's reading. Kyle Pitts is the one of the first reads. He just doesn't go to him. Like, you'll see it. And then he's like, nope, I'm going to take the actual look. He looks, he says, nope, all right, let me go behind. Perfect. So basically, Kyle Pitts is setting up and 12 Hodge is running right behind. So this is kind of what they're doing with Kyle Pitts. Now, we have Kyle Pitts in here. Sometimes he's not going to be on the field with these snaps, and this is what I mean. So he wasn't on the field in the snap. You don't see him, so we're just going to go ahead and skip this along, move on to the next play. All right, so sorry about that. We'll move this back. So yeah, it's a little janky. Sorry, I had problem downloading this footage, so I do apologize for that. So it's going to be a little bit hit or miss with some of these routes, right? There's Johnny Smith running the flat, and yeah, that would be great if they're doing that with Kyle Pitts, but they are not. So, all right, so we're pause it right here. Now, do you see Kyle Pitts on the field? No, you do not. So we move on to the next play. All right, so let's go back here. Below this. So yeah, it's not the best footage we're going to see today. I apologize for that. And there he is, Kyle Pitts on the outside, and you can see he's just going to run a route. Basically, he's a decoy route. He doesn't really put much effort. You'll see this a lot with Pitts. He's still dealing with the injury. And I think that's the unfinished, like the third part of this whole scenario that's really bothering him. Some of these routes, he can't turn very well. And you see it. So basically you have Drake London. He's one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. I know people are like, what? I'm like, trust me, he's really good. And it's literally like they're not going to feature him. And I think this is why they're also involving Johnny Smith to the level they're involving Johnny Smith. As you can see, Kyle Pitts is on this play. Playing this far share, and like the routes they're having him run, they're just not great for fantasy points, right? So if you're not, as we talked about this with Thielen on the last episode, Thielen was very much a focal point of this offense. They were designating and scheming him looks and easy looks for fantasy. They're not doing that for Kyle Pitts. As you can see, Kyle Pitts at the bottom of the screen. Cordell Patterson's going to go in motion. They're going to line up a little bit of stack, and there's Pitts, and he's running just an opposite way. And they run this for Johnny Smith at the goal line, right? So there's a lot of these routes he's running, he's just not even getting looks. And that's a problem. And this is what I mean by he's very much an ancillary piece of this offense. He's not Drake London. And the issue is John Smith is running into there too. So you have kind of this multiple assets working against Pitts, right? He's not the featured offense. It's a run-first attack. Your quarterback is very inaccurate and has issues himself trusting the offense. And here's a good play from Ritter where he just takes it into the house and just runs with it. So, like, you can see the issues just on this drive alone, like why it's such a problem. So we'll pull this back down for a little bit. We'll come back to that. But I just don't know what to do with him. This is what I'm struggling with, where it's, you know how we always talk about in Dynasty, where it's like, yeah, just bet on talent. It's like, well, do you want to bet on talent if the situation is so good? This is what we've seen from Terry McLaurin. Obviously, it's a little bit different for someone like Terry McLaurin because he's running routes. He's getting all the snaps. He's actually doing stuff you want. It's been a decrepit situation with a terrible quarterback. But the issue for Pitts is he's not going to be on the field running all the routes. And it's going to lead to these boom bust like games for him, because if you're running these massively deep down the field routes and if you catch those balls and you hit those targets, that's great. And like it could work some good games where you saw he had a blow up game a couple weeks ago, right? Where he had the most points he's had all season. It was doing pretty good. He was feeling himself. But if you look at his fantasy points, it's been 6 fantasy points, 3 fantasy points, 8 fantasy points, 4 fantasy points, 15 fantasy points, 14 fantasy points, 7 fantasy points. So yeah, he's had 2 top 12 performances all season. And this is the problem, right? Like, sure, he's getting air yards. That's great and all, but it's not working. I will say he's been a little bit unlucky with the red zone. He's had 5 red zone looks, and he has 0 touchdowns from it. So that's bound to change. It's just, you know, even with if he catches one of those touchdown routes, it gets a little bit better. But, man, it's just – I'm really just frustrated. I don't know how to say any other better than that, except, yeah, it's not good. As we move through this game, you'll kind of see a couple things they're doing with Pitts. Well, they'll send him in motion a few times and try to, you know, show what the defense is showing, right? Because if you send the guy in motion, which we saw a ton of this from Carolina last week, you send your slot guy in motion, it's going to tell you what the defense is doing. They're either going to follow, it's man coverage. They're going to sit, it's zone, and then you know where you're going to go with the ball. The problem is Ritter's not great at reading defenses. So he's very much what we call one. Sometimes he'll be a 2-read quarterback, but he's not going 1, 2, 3. He's basically 1 read, and then he's getting the ball out in the second read. And it's sometimes that's a check down, right? Because Bijan's such a good pass catcher, like he's going to feature him that way. And that's how Bijan's making his money, even though he's, you know, not seeing as much work as we wanted. But that's kind of is what it is with that. So it's just something you kind of have to get used to. Unfortunately, I can't be like as high as I was on Thielen last week. I'm pretty much the opposite of this week. So here we have another play. They're just running basically Algier to the outside, and it's not efficient. The problem with this game is Tampa Bay is the running defense is still pretty good. So you saw both offenses struggle in this game. They really couldn't get anything going. Tampa Bay is still, you know, the run is their strength, and teams go up against it and really don't have as much success. Even though the Falcons have been pretty good running. We have Pitts at the top of the screen here. We'll take a look at this route he's going to run. He's going to run underneath, and look where he's running. It's right into zone. The team, like, this is his like money play where he catches it basically behind his back and does everything he can to catch this ball. But this route really doesn't give you much success because the problem is like you're running right where the zone is. So you're running underneath to get the open look, but it's only a 5-yard catch. Watch it and watch the linebacker and then watch the corner on the edge. Like they're just sitting, right? Pitts is running in front and there's nowhere to go because there's another person in the zone. So this is really going to require superhuman effort from Pitts, which he basically did to catch the ball, to get yak on this play. It's just not good. And I've seen this a few times for Pitts where he had a few choices to go like further in the route and he didn't choose to. I don't know if that's on him or that's the coaching staff, but you see these looks from him, right? And you're like, what is going on here? And here, this is another throw to Kyle Pitts. He sits, the defender's right on it. So you can see him bottom of your screen right here. He's just going to run a quick little curl, but the defense is right on it. They know it's coming. You watch it, boom, right there. The linebacker almost picks it. It's actually pretty lucky that 54 Levante David did not pick that because that should have been picked, right? And that's more on Ritter's eyes. He's just the defender. David's reading Ritter. He sees where he's going. He breaks on the ball. So Ritter needs to get out of that faster to give Pitts a chance. So that's the other aspect of it for Pitts where, man, I was excited to break down this footage, right? I was like, oh, yeah, it's Kyle Pitts. He's one of my favorite players. He's a unicorn in the fact he does things tight ends really don't do in the NFL. And I'm walking away like, man, this is rough. So, yeah, I am going to be lowering Pitts in my dynasty rankings, unfortunately, as much as I like him. Like he was already below Laporta, Andrews, Kelsey. If you're a contending team, you can just go flip Pitts for Kelsey. I doubt team that with Kelsey would do that unless they were rebuilding. But, like, in some miracle, some team would do that. Yeah, I'll just take the Pitts I'll just take the Kelsey points and just roll with it. I mean, we can use something like Keep Trade Cut to kind of see where Kyle Pitts is at and show you his value. It's come down quite a lot. So we'll pull this up for you guys really quick to talk about where we're at with Dynasty and Kyle Pitts and kind of where we go from here, right? So let me pull this up. All right, so here we go. I'm going to pull up Keep Trade Cut for you guys to kind of look at where we stand with Kyle Pitts. So let's just go back to tight ends. We'll pull him up right here. And as you can see, Kyle Pitts is tight end 5. He's below Hawkinson. It gets really interesting in this category of players, right? Because Kelsey, Laporta, Andrews, and as much as I don't think Hawkinson's as good of a talent as Kyle Pitts, I honestly don't think it matters, to tell you the truth. Like, Hawkinson, that offense, he's just going to massively outscore Kyle Pitts. So if you need points, like, as awful as I would have thought this move would have been earlier in the season, I'm fine just flipping these two straight up. Or, the interesting thing is he's younger than Dalton Kincaid. So going into the year, everyone's like, oh, yeah, Dalton Kincaid is going to be tight end 1. It's like, well, he might be, at least as Josh Allen, and now he's going to see snaps and increase. So, like, I really don't want to make that move because I need to see it from Kincaid before I'm just going to flip someone like Pitts for him. But, like, you just get into how ugly the tight end position is. And this is why Kyle Pitts is in so disappointing. His value's taking a massive hit. And I know not everybody loves Keep Trade Cut, but look at this right here. Like, he's down to 47.38. It's calmed up a little bit because he had 2 good weeks, but, man, he was a high-profile premium asset where he was going around 2, and you just have to deal with it. If you look at the last year, his dynasty value has been all over the place. It was, it's 53, it's been 5,000, it's been in this range, but it really came down. People, because it's year 3, and this is what you see with these young wide receivers, where if it's year 3 and they don't see production, this was kind of happening with CeeDee Lamb. People were like, all right, year 3, he didn't start producing early on. He struggled, right? And people were like, all right, we're dropping him down to like wide receiver 15. And then he started hitting, and everyone's like, oh, yeah, finally, back in, right? The interesting thing with an asset such as Kyle Pitts is they have that name cachet. So if they start hitting, he immediately takes off like a sky route. Like, look at someone like a DeAndre Swift, right? Everyone's back in on DeAndre Swift after being out. It doesn't matter. We're basically just like wiping the slate clean. So this is the issue with Kyle Pitts, right? And in Dynasty, if you're trading him, it's like, it might burn you. But honestly, he's not going to help you win. Like, I don't know how to say anything clearer than that. It's really just unfortunate. I'm so bummed with it, man, but I'm like, I just don't know what to do with him. And as you can tell, I'm a little perplexed. I thought, they'd be doing some good things with him, and we could see it. So I'll share this tab again. We're going to pull up some more game footage for you guys to look at the fun stuff with Kyle Pitts and see how that's going. As much as I like him, like, we all keep hitting this home. Like, you see, he is injured, so he's not the guy that he was when he first came into the league, right? He's working his way back. He's not fully there. It's going to come like later on in the season where he's fully getting those snaps, he's getting those routes, he's getting all that work. But it's more the issue is just the offense, right? Like, if that doesn't change, it's not going to matter. So that's kind of the biggest problem we have with Kyle Pitts, right? So we'll pull up this game snap and you can see. So right here we have Pitts. He's on the outside. You see him lined up on the line of scrimmage. This is basically a deep route. He goes underneath. The defender takes him. It sets up Scotty Miller. And there he is, Mr. Scotty Miller, who he'll pop up every now and then. But you see Pitts on the left-hand side of the screen. He's running a basically deep middle route. He's just basically going to cross about 20 yards on the field. And you see it. He runs right there, and the defender comes down on Pitts, and it opens up the field. So Ritter takes the correct shot, and it's downfield. And it's unfortunate for Pitts, like he's decoy, but it is what it is, right? As you can see, they're running motion here, and they're just going the other way. And that is what it is, right? So, sometimes with Pitts, he still will draw defensive coverage because, like, it's really hard to cover him one-on-one. The dude's a freak. Like, you're talking 6'6", like 250. Like, this dude's huge, and he carries his weight so well and moves and quickness and all these things. Like, this is why he's so tantalizing. We thought, oh, my goodness, like, he's a can't-miss prospect. Well, it turns out, no matter how good you are, situation's going to matter. We'll see what happens. Like, I don't think Desmond Ritter's a long-term option. I've been saying that for a while. He's just been bad. Like, he's just been a not good quarterback. They're even opening up the passing game, and it's just not looking great for him, right? Turnovers, just issues. He's making bad reads. He's doing a lot of things that are struggling. He's cut down on the sacks, which is nice, so it's not as necessarily like the Sam Howell issue. But as you can see on this drive, like, there's just been a lot of plays in a row just without Kyle Pitts. Because on these running plays, he's really not a great blocker. So it's not like a George Kittle thing where he's being limited by his blocking being on the field. It's like, no, they're just taking him off the field. They're having Jonnu block because Jonnu's a good run blocker. So he comes in, takes that from him too. So it's not like you could even, if it's a check like that, they're just taking him off. Here we see top left, Kyle Pitts is inside on the slot. He's lined up off the ball, but basically another one where Ritter's just not even looking his way. That's a one read look to Jonnu Smith. Interestingly enough, he makes the correct read. He just throws it away because he doesn't want to take a sack here because sacks are treacherous because it's turnover. If you turn the ball over here in the red zone, you kill your team. So you basically get the 3-second count and this ball's out. There's nowhere to go with that ball. Kyle Pitts is just running it on a decoy route, which is unfortunate. You would expect them to, feature Kyle Pitts. Here we are, Kyle Pitts going to motion. The defense shifts a little bit. They run, they show you what they're running, and just a fun little outside handoff. If you'll watch the other replay on this, Cordero Patterson misses this and he's frustrated. Watch him. If he stays with this play, this could be a touchdown for Patterson. So he's going to cut it back, but he doesn't actually need to it. So if he follows the blocking, right? So watch it. Opens up, right side, follows 70 and go to the right. You have a hole there. And the problem is he tries to cut it and he just screws up the play. So he could have had a touchdown on the play, but misread by Patterson costs him a touchdown. We have Pitts in the outside right side again, just lined up, and we have him just running a little, just a little dink route, just nothing special. That's just a, he's not even really running the route hard, right? He's kind of just it's not going my way. I'm not going to run it, which you hate to see from a wide receiver. Watch this. He just kind of just sits and then does nothing, which is a dead giveaway. He's not getting the ball right. But it's such a short pass. It's a one read throw. I've seen receivers do this all the time. Sometimes they'll take plays off that they're not doing it. It's not just a Kyle Pitts thing. This is an NFL thing, right? But if you're his coach and you see this and you're like, dude, come on, at least just sell the route for me. At least make them think it's going over there. But that's neither here nor there. I could just imagine Kyle Pitts being super frustrated with that look. So until he gets fully healthy, it's going to be tough for him. And that's what worries me even more. It's he has so many factors working against him. It seems really hard for him to be this elite asset difference maker. We have Laporta doing his thing. Waller's even doing his thing. Waller's back to being the guy in that offense. If you look, his stats are almost dead even with Laporta. Those two are really just top 4 tight ends rest of the season. We have Hawkinson, we have Andrews, we have Kelsey, we have Laporta, we have Waller. And then outside of those guys, it's that next tier of dudes, right? It's the Goddards of the world. It's, the Ingrams, the Kyle Pitts, those guys. We thought Njoku was in that category. He's not. Kyle Pitts really I'm going to have him below all those guys. And it's just so unfortunate. It is what it is. He's just going to be super boom bust. I know we say certain guys are, best ball only. And that's what it's looking like from Kyle Pitts, unfortunately. Now, I hope I'm wrong with this. There's not one player in the league I would rather be wrong more than it is on Kyle Pitts. But, man, I've really come to, I've just been so devastated with what they're doing with Kyle Pitts. Now, interestingly enough, I kind of want to bring up one thing that I found from Hayden Wink, which was fantastic, right? That usage by team. And you see just how insane it is. If we go through the week 7 fantasy tight end usage, Kyle Pitts isn't even in the top 8. Laporta was 8, Ingram was 7, Gerald Everett was 6, Dalton Kincaid was 5, Darren Waller, Mark Andrews, Njoku, Kelsey. I'm honestly debating Kincaid over Pitts rest of season. That's where I'm at with Pitts. This is not a joke. I just don't, it's really unfortunate. So then the decision becomes we talked about with Kincaid, in Dynasty, if you expect that guy to be better in redraft, that's going to translate to Dynasty, right? And he's connected to Josh Allen. So all he has to do is show you a little bit and he's going to take off. So if you personally want to do that, I wouldn't hate it. I'd understand it. We loved a lot of us, myself. I know Dynasty's Ultimate was another guy who was big on Kincaid. There's things he does that just make him really exemplary pass catcher. And he's also just in offense to thrive. It's a situation. I'm curious to see how his usage goes going forward. But the two of them are very interesting for me, where it's if Kyle Pitts on one end, Dalton Kincaid on the other, you have these talents. Obviously, I think Kyle Pitts is just a better overall player. But realistically, how big is that gap? And the fact one's playing with Josh Allen, one's an up-tempo offense, he's one of the better quarterbacks in the league, right? They're going to scheme him up for these looks that are just nice, and you actually using him. And we saw this actually last week where it was just he was the first read, and I was like, whoa, the first read in Kincaid, you like to see that. and particularly when he's going like with someone with such a Steph Diggs, like who's such a target magnet in that offense. But the issue is like Gabe Davis is kind of just an ancillary piece. He's a deep threat. He's like nice to have on your team, but like is up and down roller coaster. And then James Cook's kind of involved, but they need another piece. So with Kyle Pitts, this is just the issues, right? Where it's open for him. You would expect him to be there. Let's see here. What do we got? All right. So yeah, I'll comment on bringing it in here real quick. All right, Team QB, Burrow Fields. All right, Pollard, ETN, Connor. This is a pretty solid squad. Yeah, like I think. So interestingly enough, Pollard's been one of the bigger letdowns, but his usage is fantastic. I would not be too worried about Pollard. It's frustrating in the meantime, sure, but if you see how many like wide receivers you have. The thing is, Debo and Watson are both hurt. Like you're not gonna be able to trade them for anything. Connor's hurt, Fields hurt. Like you have are all these guys on your IR? Because this is a ton of guys that are gonna be out multiple weeks for you. Yeah, like if you can, sure. Like I'm happy to move a running back because you have two, but outside of that, it's if one of those guys goes down, then it's rough. So like that's the kind of thing you have to decide what to do, right? We don't know when Fields is coming back. It looks like it's not gonna be this week. It might be next week he comes back. So ideally, if you get Fields being the guy he is, I'm assuming this is one QB and this is redraft. Correct me if it's not. I know we're talking dynasty right now, but correct me if it's not because I will change what I'm saying. But realistically, I'm trying to get rid of one of those quarterbacks and package them with someone else and moving them into like an elite fantasy option. You have ETN. He's basically a top 5 running back rest of the season. Don't worry about ETN. You're set with him. Like he's very good. Tank Bigsby just sucks. And the thing is like, they're just going to use ETN. Like do that. Allen, stud. Mike Evans, he's a top 12 wide receiver. Mari Cooper, he's boom bust, but he's like a really good wide receiver too. So he could be your wide receiver 3. You're fine there, right? You have Kittle. Kittle is very much similar to Pitts, and he's going to have these up and down roller coasters. It's just, it's just better with Kittle. And, he has a quarterback that's capable of doing more things. I know people hate on Brock Purdy, but he's a capable NFL quarterback, man. He sets his guys in positions to win, and that's all you really need sometimes. Sorry, my screen's a little blurry here, but let's pull some footage back up here in a second. So, yeah, if you can, absolutely. Like, you can, like, I think with – we don't know in Watson, like, how long he's going to be out, so that's the problem. Amari is a solid flex. Like, he's going to give you good weeks and down weeks. He's just not consistent, right? So, if you're okay riding the roller coaster, but, yeah, if you want to flip Amari for a running back and then you get Watson or Debo coming back in the next week or two, like, you should be fine, right? It's just all about what you can do. But if you can package a quarterback to a team that needs a quarterback, take it with Amari, and then you go get somebody who's really good, absolutely. Like, go get your top 12 running back. Like, it doesn't even have to be a running back. I would just look into just upgrading position, right? I'm just all about difference makers at any position. So if you can upgrade Amari, go for it. Like, the thing with Evans and Allen is they're always going to be a little undervalued just because they're older. People don't trust them as much. So, yeah, I would happily do that. Let's pull some more of this game footage up. So, yeah, if you're, like I was saying with that, absolutely go do that. All right, let me speed up to when the Falcons are on the field here because we have Buccaneers tape real quick. So let's go through, and yeah, there we go. Yeah. So yeah, this game was just really strange. I'm gonna move this comment down. Sorry about that. Let's go through. So yeah, usually I'll have these plays highlighted like that, but as you can see in this play, it's like, hey, look at that! It's past Kyle Pitts. Woohoo! So exciting, right? So just another little curl. That's what we call PPR scam points. But as you watch here, it's just immediate. Just read, boop, send the guy in motion. The defense adjusts. It opens up and. See how earlier Riddle was a little bit late on that throw, and he did not hit Pitts. Like it led to David being an interception. This time Riddle was on time, got Pitts the ball. Hey, pass, you got it completed. Yeah. So here's another play. Just Ritter running for his life because there's nothing here. Pitts wasn't even on this play, so is what it is. Yeah, of course, man. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, if you ever have questions, you can always reach out on Twitter. Any one of those, JMLR05. I'll happily answer any DMs, messages you guys have. I want you guys to be as successful as possible. So like, I'm here to help you guys win. Like that's my goal. So you're always more than welcome to join. You know what I'm saying? Just it's what it's all about. All right. So as you can see, we have another play. Got running in motion. We have no Kyle Pitts. I just love what we're doing here. As you've seen, like you see this trend, Kyle Pitts has just not been on the field. That's Drake London. Drake London's a dog. Like I love Drake London. If you could have got like a couple years ago, I was talking about this with my buddy where he traded a package of Justin Jefferson. He got London, he got Gibbs, he got a first-round pick, and he got a couple other things. Like, the reason why I said to do this deal is because A is rebuilding, but also, like, Drake London is a very good NFL wide receiver. The thing is, like, he's still being involved in his usage. He's like top 16, I think it is. And so, like, the situation is not weighing him as down as much as Kyle Pitts. And this could be partial injury, but, like, even when Pitts is on the field, he's not seeing the target rate. He's not seeing the same level that Drake London is. So, like, even if you take them on a per-route basis, Drake's just been more involved. He's just been better. So, like, as I was Kyle Pitts, I very much shifted, like, Drake London's the asset I want. Besides Bijan, obviously, Bijan is Bijan Robinson. By the way, don't freak out on Bijan. It's okay. If you can go. So, Chandler, if you're still with me, if you could go get Bijan, if you could package those guys together or make a deal to get Bijan, absolutely go do that, because this is like the 1 week bump where people are going to be frustrated with him. So this is just a bad pass, and also it's a penalty Pitts drew, but like this, he gets low under pressure. It's just kind of ugly from Desmond Ridder here. So you watch it, Pitts is just going to run across the middle, just run a little post. There he is, gets dragged, and that's just you see where that pass is? That Pitts is behind him. Like, what are we doing here, Desmond Ridder? You can't throw behind after the guy's getting held. That's just atrocious pass from Desmond Ridder. So here we go, Pitts in motion. The defense does not adjust. It shows you they're in zone. Ridder makes the read. He's going to check it. Watch what he's going to do here. Oh, surprise. Handoff. Yeah. If I wish we would have taken a poll, I bet you would have been at 90%. What's he going to do? Oh, he's going to run it. Yeah. So he checks. They get the side becomes unbalanced. They have the edge. As you can see right here, Pitts mows over. That's another offensive lineman aspect. So they have the scheme set up where it's an edge, more hat on a hat, like they got open blockers. So this play should be more successful. But if you just watch, did this just freeze on me? No. So if you watch, look at it. Guys just miss their blocks. So this play should be wide open in a big running play, but the D tackle blows it up. The D end actually holds it up too. So it's just, it's not a great play. No surprise. Like, Kyle Pitts blocking is not successful and not where he's at. So you can kind of see some of the issues they have. But yeah, man, it's just, I hate to say it. I'm just frustrated. Like, it's not good. What I'm going to do after the show tonight is I'm going to clip this show up and I'm going to highlight Pitts on every play he's in. I'll post it on Twitter. I'll post it on TikTok and those places with like the down and distance like I did last week. So everybody can see what they're doing with Pitts. And then we can talk about like, hey, he's not playing enough snaps. That's just a really good run from Tyler Algier. Watch this play again. Like, Algier's, he's freaking good running back, man. He's not Bijan Robinson, but he does things. And obviously that's wide open, but like he just gets north-south and he just goes. And this is sometimes what happens with this offense, right? Like they set plays up and schemed up them for success in the run game. We have Pitts down at the bottom of the screen, if you're wondering. And you watch it right here, and Ridder sets it up, and here we go. And Ridder does not look his way once again. This is a Drake London target. This is a first read for Drake London, easy peasy. Drake London, like, that's what they do. So, like, this is why you want guys to be the first option in an offense, because they're getting those first read looks. And those first read looks are very important because they raise the floor. So, this is also the Mike Evans thing on the other side of the game. If you watch the Buccaneers, like Mike Evans gets a ton of first read looks from Baker Mayfield. And this is why his floor is so high, right? Because Baker trusts him. They're going to scheme him looks and continually do that. If you're not the first read look, it needs to be a good offense. You could be a solid like wide receiver 2 in an offense and like be passable. In the Falcons offense, it's freaking difficult, man. So it's very hard. That's another just CPAT doing his thing. Age like 33, I think Cordero Patterson is, but he's just not bad. Excuse me, I need some water here. But yeah, there's basically, if you just want to watch a good running attack, just go watch Falcons. Like, that's what they specialize in. That's what they're good in. If you want to watch passing, this is not the game for you. So I do apologize for that. I just picked something that I thought people would be very interested in with Kyle Pitts. I knew when I picked it, I was like, I'm going to freaking hate some of this stuff. And yeah, it's very much. As you can see, they have Kyle Pitts blocking. He holds it long enough, but it's not the best block in the world, right? So they have him lined up on the edge. He's going to take the guy, and he's just kind of just holds him. He does his job enough, right? It's just he doesn't really create a hole. It's just he's basically just holding the guy up. So yeah, that's not what Kyle Pitts specializes in, right? It's not why they drafted him top 5. They didn't do that for his blocking. They wanted to get him involved in the passing attack. It's just kind of is what it is. So this play, yeah, I don't know what Ridder's doing here, right? Like there's Bijan playing one of his few snaps in this game, but like he throws it to the fullback. I don't like, why are you, that's just a terrible design. Like Arthur Smith, just yeet that play call into the sun. Don't throw freaking fullback screens when you have Bijan Robinson on the field. Like, what are you doing, man? All right, here goes Pitts. And yeah, this play just goes haywire for him. So Pitts is running basically post corner to the outside. You can watch what Ridder's looking at, and it's just a bad play from Ridder. Like, You see this every so often. He has a handful of plays. It's not good. He just looks and he just gets hit. And like he's under pressure there. He waited a little too long. So if you look at it, like there's two guys. He has a guy crossing across the middle, and that's a turnover. And then the other guy's Pitts going to the outside. It looks like he's trying to hit Pitts, but he's got to get that ball out just a little bit earlier. And that end the half, basically. You've got to get that play out. Like you can't wait that long you're under pressure. This is where his anticipatory skills are lacking, and he's setting his receivers up for failure, right? Because if you are a good, capable quarterback, you know the play, you know where it's coming, and you know, like sometimes you have to do what this is what I mean by Brock Purdy. He makes these anticipatory reads where he trusts his wide receivers. Sometimes that doesn't always work, right? But the good quarterbacks do that. They know where their wide receiver is going to be. They put it in a place where they can make a play on it. Ritter kind of does not do either of those things, and he very much limits this offense. Like they have a good rushing attack. They have like good skill position players. Like you have Bijan, you have Drake London, you have Kyle Pitts. All these guys are special. Like they're special players. With a good quarterback, this offense could be a lot of fun. Right now, it's just a capable offense because Ritter's just limited in what they're doing. So that's why it's frustrating. The thing is, the NFC South sucks. So like this is why the Falcons could win the division because their defense has been really good. They've piecemealed this defense together. It's keeping them in games. Even in this game, they only gave up 13 points to a solid Buccaneers offense, and they really just kept them in this game. Right? The offense didn't have to do a lot. They gave up the big long play to Mike Evans, but like outside of that, they were solid for the most part. It was just a back and forth affair. Like, nobody was great. You can see Pitts. He was the top of the trifecta there on the stack, and they're just running a read right away from him. That's the Drake London. So a lot of times they'll do that. They will stack on the opposite side of the field, which gives the main priority target, Drake London here. It's the read for London the entire time. You can see that. So like they will offset and they will go away from the offset because the defense is going to look at the 3 wide receivers and be able to cover them. Then that leaves single coverage, and that's just too easy for Drake London. He'll burn that every time. As you can see here, this is going in the middle, obviously away from Kyle Pitts, is what it is. He's just running routes, but it's frustrating. So yeah, can't say it enough. Like if I'm not highlighting this well enough, let me know. I am definitely very much worried about Kyle Pitts rest of the season. This offense is just not that good. It is what it is, unfortunately. But like, I love the talent, and if you're rebuilding, like I don't know, his stock's gonna get much lower than it currently is. It's just you just kind of have to ride it out, and that's okay. I have him on one rebuilding team, and like I tried to get Puka for him earlier in the year. The guy didn't want to do it. I was like, all right, that's fine. Like if I'll just hold him out. And that that would have been great to get Puka. Like he's been fantastic. He's been one of the best wide receiver rookies like we've ever seen. So yeah, you'll live and learn. Like you can make moves like that. But yeah, it's just all about just buying into the talent. We had this discussion a lot this offseason of like why Travis Kelce is elite and what he does. It's just absurd. If you want to see the difference in just game tape, go watch Travis Kelce's game last week. He was even saying the defense was like good against him. Like they thought they did a good job against him, and he absolutely dominated. It's because him and Mahomes, they have that telepathic connection where it's like Mahomes trusts him, and he just lets Kelce free will these choice routes. He's like, just do your thing, man. I will hit you. You don't see that from Kyle Pitts, right? Like if you gave Kyle Pitts a quarterback, like one of the top quarterbacks in the NFL and a good offense, like the sky is the limit. Like literally, like the things he could do as a wide receiver are special. Like you're literally lining him up outside. He's going to be once again seeing one of the most like I don't know any other tight end that lines up more outside than him. I don't think any does. Like he literally is playing wide receiver. Like you see him off the line in like a few of these situations where not just like in the slot, like literally lining up outside, like as an X wide receiver, right? Like that's Kyle Pitts, and this is what's so tantalizing about him. But we play a game of fantasy, and it's about points, and it's as tantalizing and as good as a player as he is. It's not coming together. Like you saw, I think it was last year or the year before, there was a stat where he had the best yards per route run running outside, like and as like an X wide receiver in the NFL. Like it's just the things he could do are absurd. And this is with him only putting up, what was it, like not even 10 points a game last year, right? Yeah, it was 7.6 fantasy points per game last year. So on the plus side, he's up to 8.6. So, congrats to that, Kyle Pitts. But man, it's so depressing. Though I will caveat this by saying if they do go to Taylor Heineke, he is a better quarterback, and the offense will be better because of Taylor Heineke. So they might have to struggle a little bit to go Taylor Heineke because if they keep winning, like how NFL coaches are, like don't change it. We're not going to go away from Desmond Ridder, but Ritter's just not a good quarterback. I don't see him having any long-term potential. Like, we talked about this the offseason with him and Sam Howell, and I know everybody loves Sam Howell, but good God, Sam Howell sucks. The Giants had the worst sack rate in the NFL, or second worst, and they sacked him 6 times. And this is more hitting on the Justin Fields issue. Like, the sacks that they take are drive killers, and they're drive enders. So this is why you want quarterbacks who don't take sacks and don't turn it over. If you do have a quarterback that does that, like, the floor just raises higher. The ceiling, obviously, you need a good quarterback to hit the ceiling. But floor-wise, if you're a mobile quarterback who doesn't take sacks and you don't turn the ball over, like, the floor in fantasy is so high, and this is why we were so high on Anthony Richardson. I know I'm going on a bit of a tangent here with quarterbacks, but this comes back to just Desmond Ridder being a not capable quarterback, right? Like you saw with the situation he's in, which is a pretty good situation for a quarterback who could be efficient, aka like what Ryan Tannehill used to be, which pouring out for Ryan Tannehill, man, that offense is a struggle bus. I feel just watching that, it's just, it is rough. But the pieces, the situation is there for this to, like, the Falcons could easily win 10 plus games with a good quarterback in the team. Like, the defense is doing their thing, like the skill position, the line's been respectable, like everything's there for a good quarterback. It's just the issues, the lack of connection, it is what it is, unfortunately. Like, this is the situation the player's in. And if they're not going to lose and they're going to keep winning, it takes a brave general manager or a brave organization to be like, you know what? I know we just went to the playoffs. Case in point, look at the Giants. They paid Daniel Jones a boatload of money, and that looks like a monumental mistake, right? If they would have gone like, hey, let's just franchise him or like let him go, they have Tyrod Taylor, who's playing better, even with that decrepit offensive line. He's not taking the sacks. He's not turning it over. He's actually getting the ball downfield. And this is how, like, NFL capable quarterbacks, which, like, Daniel Jones, as good as the fantasy option as he is, like, he really has not done much as a passer at the NFL level. And you can only get by with athleticism and stuff for so long. And sometimes, like, teams get tricked. Like, they paid him a ton of money, right? And that could have been a multitude of things looking for that, where it's like the fear of losing a quarterback. You're just coming off a winning season where you made it to the playoffs, but it all kind of crumbles in front of you. And this is the problem the Giants are going through right now, is because they've bet on Daniel Jones. And if you bet on the player in the situation, like, I doubt the Falcons are going to bet on Desmond Ridder, but who knows? Like, the Giants did something very similar where they bet on Desmond Ridder, right? So if the Falcons win this division and they go to the playoffs and they're like, you know what, let's bet on Desmond Ridder. The nice thing is, like, he's still on that rookie contract a little bit longer. Like, he's only been in the league a couple of years. He wasn't on his last year of his deal. So there's that going into it. But, like, you could have just franchise tagged Daniel Jones. Like, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah. To break it down in short and sweet, I'm just bummed for Kyle Pitts, man. Like, this tape showed me more of the negative than the positive with him. And it's just so frustrating. Like, I was like, come on, man. Is this where we're going to be? All right, let's go back. So let's put some more game footage up here for you guys to put this game in. So as you can see right here, there's some more game tape. And look at that. Kyle Pitts lining up outside top to the right of the screen, right by the 30 hash. Oh, easy. And running it to Mr. Tyler Algier. And that play's just blowing up. There's just nothing there. Pitts is just running as a decoy there, trying to take the guy with him. And nothing happens there. So that's part of it. But yeah, like, I am, as much as it's difficult. Yeah, you can see, Pitts is really just phantom blocking there, just trying to keep him in front, just trying to keep him away from the running back. Now, as you can see, we have trips on the left. This is basically 5 wide where freaking nobody's on the play, which is actually interesting. Like, you don't see 5 wide, no back for this offense in a while. There it is right here. You can just see they just run Algier's out wide. He runs a slant up the middle, and it opens up because we have guys on the inside running out, guys on the outside running in. The defense, look at the wide open space in the middle. So Ridder makes the right call. It's just, that's an easy completion to Algier, and you get some points. Like, sometimes it's that simple, and that's about just taking those, right? So this is not the best play in the world right here. It's just Algier just running up. Boop. And yeah, you'll notice Kyle Pitts is not in on the situation. So this is more of the problem, right? Like, they're taking him off the field in these run plays. He's not seeing enough routes. He's not seeing enough snaps. And if that's the case, then it's rough for my guy. So yeah, I'm going to go see what I can get for Kyle Pitts on one of my dynasty teams, because, man, I don't know what to do with them. And, if you want to buy into the Kyle Pitts, like, just be prepared for just pain. Like, it's just pain and misery, man. Yeah, like, when they line him up online and they have him block, it's not really a good thing. So watch him on the end here. He's 8. Just look, he's just not a good blocker, man. Like, he's trying to do his thing, right? He does enough, but, like, you compare him to George Kittle and just like watch how George Kittle blocks, and it's like a world of difference. Like he needs to go train with George Kittle and hang out if he wants to be an NFL, like a quality NFL tight end blocker. But here we are. This play just gets eaten alive. They have zone coverage in the middle. Both guys just sitting on those bubbles. They're literally taking away the little curl that pitch runs. So watch. They shift over the man in motion. 54 sits, 45 sits. They're both just right there on Kyle Pitts. Like he has no shot of winning that at all. And you won't see them target. If it's a throw down there, it's basically going to be a throwaway or it's just going to get cracked right just throwing it. Right here he's in the slot, left-hand side. He's got single coverage on him. And this is the Drake London play where Drake London does his thing. And geez, it's just watching this play live was, man. But as you see, that's another route run for Kyle Pitts where he's just running a decoy route. Like he's not even in the progression there. This is just Drake London, first read, we go. So yeah, so I don't know what changed for Pitts these last 2 weeks. Like he's trending downward. And even the week before that, where this is 3 weeks in a row. And okay, this one, he tries to cut block and just whiffs, like doesn't get enough of the guy. And this is the guy that actually recovers the fumble. So watch, he's on the left-hand side of the screen, tries to cut, misses, and look who gets the ball. The guy he's supposed to cut block, right? So I know it's cut block, like he's just trying to get him enough where he takes him out, but man, he doesn't give it. And it's just, yeah. So the takeaway, Kyle Pitts, not a great blocker. No surprise, right? Like this is not what he was known for coming into the league. Yeah. Arthur Smith's doing his thing. So that's great though. But yeah. I just frustrated with Kyle Pitts, man. So it depends on how you want to take this tape, and this is why we're watching it to give us an impression. I traded away Kyle Pitts in a league, in the dynasty league where I was competing this year. I packaged him, Devon Achane, and a couple other things. And this is before Devon Achane went off to get Jalen Hurts on my squad. I was happy I made the move. I should have. The Achane thing's killing me, man, because he looks like a freaking stud, and that one could hurt. But yeah. Oh, yes, he does, my friend. Arthur Smith is the worst. I was starting to get on board with Arthur Smith and his tight end usage. Like, it's been really high. But this game, good God, this game's awful. It is awful. Like, I was just like, what are you guys doing with Kyle Pitts, man? It's when the analogy when they talk about square peg, round hole. This is like Kyle Pitts. Like, I don't know why you draft him top 5. I think he was actually the 4th pick above Jamar Chase. So, woohoo, good job, Falcons. But, yeah, like, I don't know why you would take these 3 dynamic skill position players and Bijan, Drake London, Kyle Pitts, and then just wedge them into this Arthur Smith offense. Like it's rough to watch because what it does is just limits all of them, right? And the Bijan thing's a little bit different because he's a rookie and he's the running back, so he's going to be a focal point. But goodness, man, I just they're still limiting. They're splitting with Algier, things like that. It's rough. Yeah, and even Kyle Pitts grew the mustache. I was like, all right, cool. He gave the salute to Arthur Smith with a mustache. But yeah, Bijan said, I can't do this anymore, man. I gotta throw up. It's weird. When they say Arthur Smith doesn't care about your fantasy teams, he really doesn't. It's like obviously no NFL quarterback cares about your fantasy teams, but the way Arthur Smith goes about winning, this is like the old Ron Rivera, like winning on the edges mindset. Arthur Smith very much carries this. He's like, we're gonna ground and pound, we're gonna do a few passes here or there, but like we're gonna try to grind you into dust with this offense. It's the ultimate get off the bus team, right? Like you see these guys just mountains where you have Pitts, London, you got Bijan, just they look the part, but it's the opposite. Like you go to the top offenses, you're like, Atlanta's nowhere to be found. Like they're obviously efficient with the things they do and some things, but man, Ritter's very much holding this offense back. So I would feel a lot better if they had a capable quarterback. They don't. So if you could get some decent like value in return from trading Desmond Ridder now while he's a starting NFL quarterback, I would happily do that because man, I saw in one of my dynasty leagues somebody traded Desmond Ridder for like a first, a second, something else away, and I was like, dude, what the hell? And I was offering Kirk Cousins for just a first. I was like, oh, so you're going to trade for Desmond Ridder over Kirk Cousins? What in the fuck? Yeah. And like, I was like, yeah, that one worked out. And the guy was like, I've made a terrible mistake. I was like, yeah, dude, it's Desmond Ridder and Arthur Smith offense. I don't know what you expected. Unless you expected Ryan Tannehill 2.0. Then it's like, okay, like maybe that could happen. I just don't see it. All right. So here we have, Desmond Ridder doing his thing. I'm impressed by him making the decision to just tuck and run. Like, dive into your strength, Desmond Ridder. You are a rushing quarterback. That's where your strength is. So you can see Pitts is out at the bottom of the screen. We do a little, do mosey on route, nothing because they're running away from him. So you'll see that from a wide receiver once again. It's just like, yeah. And here's the same play of it once again. same situation with it. Yeah. So like, where do we go here from like with this whole situation, right? Like, what do we do with Kyle Pitts? Well, like I've been saying before, if you can get good value for him, go and ship him off. I tried to send him for Laporta, just missed the window on that one. It was like a week too late when I did it. And I was like, I should have done it. Yeah, like I know people are like, oh, he's younger. I'm like, I don't care, dude. They're both super young. Like, why does it matter? It's like Kincaid's 24, Pitts is 23. I'm like, does that year difference mean much to you? Like, it shouldn't really, Dynasty. Like, these tight ends last forever. And I get it. Kyle Pitts is a wide receiver playing, like a tight end playing wide receiver. So he's just a little bit different than everything else. But there's another play. Pitts just isn't even involved in this play. So, and they're in the pistol. You can see, oh yeah, more Algier just runs the outside. It's actually not a bad play from Algier. Like, I'll tell you this, like, he's patient, then he hits the hole. Algier's capable running back. Like, he's good. He's efficient. Like, he does things for you. He's a fine NFL running back to have in an NFL offense. Like, I'd be fine if he was the RB1 in our offense. Like, he's not going to kill you. He's not going to be a world beater. Like, you see what he does. He's explosive. He's efficient. Like, he does some things like that. He's a freaking tank, man. He's huge. It's weird how they're kind of just like cycling these guys through, right? And you can see that's not Kyle Pitts. That's Jonnu Smith running that little drag route. You'll see this a lot from this offense where they're Smith or Pitts are going to run these little drag routes where, you basically need them to beat the zone, or if it's in man coverage, beat the man and then break the tackle in these drag routes. Like, the drag routes, depending on who's running them, like, they can be really successful. But if you're running right in certain zones or situations like that, those are just not going to be successful plays. Like, you'll get 2-3 yards and just immediate tackle. This happened to Pitts earlier where he made the behind the back catch, right? Same thing. Like, this is what it is. So yeah, like, that's what you kind of have to make the decision. You have to make the decision with Kyle Pitts on if you're capable of riding this out and seeing this wave through, because this wave could be a couple of years, like, until they clean house with Arthur Smith and, they start losing. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You got a baseball bat. We'll go at him Negan style. Just take him out. We're done here. Like, we've seen enough of this. Like, dude, they're going to win that division. Like, that's the worst part about that. The Falcons are going to win the NFC South, and they're going to be celebrating in Atlanta. Like, good for them. Like, you guys go to the playoffs, you win the division, congrats. But, like, there's 0% chance to win the Super Bowl. Like, that's the problem. Like, I get it. Playoffs are great and all. This was like the Giants thing last year. If you're really don't have a realistic chance of a Super Bowl, like, playoffs are cool and all, but, like, that's not. No. Like, blow it up. Go for it again. Thing is, they don't even need to blow it up. Like, they have pieces. This is a nice thing with defenses. It's a lot easier to overhaul defense each year. You can reconstruct the defense in a year, sometimes in only like 2 years, and like redo your defense a lot easier than it is to like restart an offense. So like, you have the pieces in here. You can even just tinker with this playbook a little bit and it'll be a little bit better, but you got it. The problem comes down to Desmond Ridder. Like, it's Desmond Ridder. It's not going to get any better with Desmond Ridder. So at some point, I hope Desmond Ridder goes on like a 3-game losing streak and they bench him for Heineke, because that's good for London. That's good for Pitts. That's good for Bijan. That's good for all these guys. Because we're a fantasy football related show. Like, I'm not just NFL. I'm not like, oh yeah, you know what I mean? But we're using the NFL tape to like kind of break down and to help us with the data and like what we see and what they see. Now you'll see Baker Mayfield is also just he makes some good plays. He makes some bad plays. Baker Mayfield is a different kind of roller coaster, right? And he doesn't really have the arm strength. He never really did have the arm strength to be like a top tier NFL quarterback. But like, he has some nice traits. Like, I'd much rather just have Baker than Desmond Ridder. Like, the things Baker could do is at least be better. What do we got? Is this dynasty or is this redraft? Because Laporta is going to be 1 on both of these. I'm real tempted to put Kincaid above Pitts for the rest of the year, man. I can't I can only drop Pitts so far just because the talent's so good. Like, Ferguson, you don't see, like, it's the same crap as Pitts. Like, he doesn't see enough routes. He just doesn't see enough snap share. Yeah, dynasty. Oh yeah. So Laporta, I definitely have Laporta. He's in that like tier 1. Pitts is below her. With Kincaid and Mayer. So Kincaid's top 10 for me. Kincaid's like top 5. He's right there with Pitts. Mayer's top 10. He's creeping on top 8 right now. And then Musgrave's like right there with him. I've gone back and forth with Musgrave and Mayer this entire like going in the process just because I like Musgrave so much. But man, both the quarterbacks are just not good in those situations where, and particularly like what's going on in Vegas. If it's the Brian Hoyer show or Aiden O'Connell, maybe it works. But it's going to limit him. So that's what worries me. If they get Jimmy G, then yeah, like rest of the season, I'll take Mayer over Musgrave. But until then, man, I don't know what's going on. So yeah, we're going to go Laporta. Oh, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to put Kincaid over Pitts, man. I just don't want to do this with Pitts anymore. Kincaid, Pitts, they're back-to-back. They'll be 5-6. And then I'm going to go Mayer, Musgrave, Ferguson. Like, that's how I would rank them in Dynasty at this moment in time. And this is so frustrating with Pitts, right? Like, this is the thing where, like, I have to fight myself. Like, all right, take my bias out of it. How much I think Kyle Pitts is one of the best, like, most unique special talents in the NFL. Oh, that sucks. Yeah, that offense. Oof. I know people are excited about, like, Pierre Strong and Kareem Hunt, but that offense is going to blow, dude. Like, that's going to be atrocious offense. Oh, yeah. And so, like, pour one out for Amari Cooper in the meantime. Well, like, the thing is, Deshaun Watson's been, like, the worst quarterback in the league, but you're replacing him with terrible as well. It's like you're going from one terrible situation to another. They need his shoulder to get right. Like, did you see the video clips of his? It was so bad. The video clips of Deshaun Watson trying to throw the ball is like, dude, something is up with his shoulder. It's literally seems like it's broken. They need to fix that. So yeah, that's fun. Amari Cooper, yikes, dude. Yeah, that's not gonna be fun. Like, the thing with that defense is it's so good. Like, if you just put the Browns with a good offense, that team might not lose a game. That's how good that defense is. So their defense is carrying them. Hey, Myles Garrett for MVP. Just give that man the MVP. He's a force. It's like I rarely see play. I know people love like TJ Watt, what he does, but like no. Myles Garrett is just a better player. I don't care. The scheme is set up for very well for TJ Watt. And the things TJ Watt can do are incredible. But man, Myles Garrett, that guy is just he's a one-of-one. Like, they don't make him like Myles Garrett. He's that generational type end where you're just like, dude, this guy could just wreak havoc. This is what I thought Kyle Pitts was going to be. I thought he was going to be the freaking Myles Garrett of tight ends. It's like, nah, he's just been the freaking like Kellen Winslow. Like, just nonsense going on, man. It's been so frustrating. Yeah. So, yeah, we're kind of wrapping it up into an hour here. It's been a roller coaster. Let me tell you, folks, this whole Kyle Pitts stuff, I can tell you, you're going through the roof. I'm all over. Like, I'm just every emotion spin on me. This tape's taking it out of me. I've just been so frustrated with scalp and stuff. It's like worse. You don't realize it until you sit down and watch it, and you're just like, I don't have any hair, but I want to pull it out, which I should probably clip that. That would be good. But yeah, pull out the hair. Like, I just so frustrated. It's just like the metrics are good too. Like, he's a good player, and you see like the other thing I want to hit on lastly is like his injury is literally it's limiting him as well too. So it's like. The injury, he's not 100% back. Like, it'll probably be a few weeks before he's fully back to what he was, and we'll see that. There'll be more explosive plays. Like, he'll probably get a few more looks and stuff like that. But, like, his offense, the quarterback, the play calling, all these things are working against him. So it's so hard for a player to beat that. So I think this is the thing we struggle with the most is situations in Dynasty. And, like, case in point, the Terry McLaurin, like I've been talking about for years, like, it's just killing him. And this is the Kyle Pitts situation. At least with Drake London, like, he's the focal point of that offense. He is the guy in that offense. Like, I can live with it. He's been at least somewhat productive. Like, Pitts isn't doing anything for you, man. Like, 8 fantasy points as a tight end, like, I don't care about that. Like, that just sucks. Whereas, like, Laporta, the way they're using him and giving him looks, like, he's very much a feature point of that offense. And it's a good offense. Like, we've seen Jared Goff support multiple guys. The curious thing with Buffalo is can Josh Allen support Dalton Kincaid? Well, based on last week, it sure looked like it. I'm curious to see how this works out for him because no Dawson Knox. They literally needed number 2. Gabe Davis is fine, but yeah, like tight ends, man, it's just a dumpster fire. Once you get past those top 4 and the 5, actually, it's just like it's rough. If the have and have nots, it's literally just a hope and a prayer of the rest of these guys. Like Goddard's, he's not a really good player, but he's limited just because they have too many good players on that team. He's gonna have those spike weeks. George Kittle, it's the same thing. Him and Dallas Goedert are just like they're both older. They're actually like a year apart, which is really weird. I think. Like I thought Kittle was multiple years older than Dallas Goedert. Turns out he's only a year older than him. So that's kind of strange, right? Because Dallas Goedert's never been, and I know Aaron in particular is not a fan of Dallas Goedert, but he's in that tier 2 of guys, right? Where if it's like you're in those categories where you're looking at the dynasty tight ends, right? You're looking at Kincaid, you're looking at Pitts, you're looking at Musgrave, you're looking at Mayer, you're looking at Ingram. There's also Freiermuth. There's Waller down here. Like, what would you get if you go from Pitts to Waller? What's the giant plus you can get on top? Because I still feel like somebody would pay you a significant amount. Like, if you're a contender, go see whatever that plus you can get is on top of Kyle Pitts. Like, if you get something fun, like, go do that. Yep. And it's a lot of it's injuries with him too. Like he's never really been able to hold up for a full season. It's just, he's there. There's a floor with him. The thing with Kyle Pitts is his floor is even lower. Like on a points per game basis, it's just the injuries kill him too. So like that's what I mean. So if you want to get out from Kyle Pitts, he's still valued incredibly high. Like 4,700 keep trade points is a lot. Like you can move him straight up for like a DeAndre Swift. Go give yourself some running back points. Like there's ways to move, get out of the Kyle Pitts. Like you don't have to just hold him if you don't want to. Now, on the flip side, if you believe the situation is going to change in a year, like they get a new quarterback, it's all rolling for Kyle Pitts, and all of a sudden the offensive scheme, but that's a lot of what ifs, right? Like they got to fire Smith. They got to bring in a new coach. It has to be a scheme that benefits them. So you have to do all these steps, right? And then also like this new coach, Kyle Pitts isn't going to be his guy also too, right? So there's that on top of it. And you see this with guys where we were like, oh yeah, Rashad Bateman, it's going to be this year. Guess what? It's not this year. It's Zay Flowers. So that's kind of the problem. I do know at some point in Kyle Pitts' career, he's going to be an elite asset. Just he's too talented. But we said this about so many tight ends, man. It's just super frustrating. So you could always, the thing is, if he does hit, you could always buy back in onto him, right? Whenever it's happening, you see the breakout, you see him putting up 12 to 15 fantasy points per game, being an impact fantasy asset. You can go do that. It's okay. You can go overpay then, right? But just to deal with the muck and the awfulness that is Kyle Pitts right now, where he's not helping you in. And fantasy, that's what matters the most. So yeah, you can go move him. Go get a package for him. Go do that. Because there's always going to be one Kyle Pitts truther in every league. You see this with leagues. There's always one guy that's like, oh yeah, that's my dynasty tight end one. It's like, all right, prove it. Go pay dynasty tight end one prices, right? Go pay, this massive amount for him. Somebody will do it because they love the name, they love the cachet, they love all of that. So that's the way I'm looking at him in dynasty is I don't want to acquire any more Kyle Pitts. I'll probably hold on to 1 or 2 shares of all my leagues just because that's the type of asset I want to hold on to, at least have 1 share. But I'm not going to just overly invest or anything I'm just going to avoid him and go from there. I'll probably go see if I can flip him in one of my leagues so I just have 1 Kyle Pitts share and just ride that one out and be with okay that one burning me. Sometimes I know that's not the best process play in the world, and if you're a process dynasty player, you're like, dude, don't do that. But sometimes you got your biases, you got to fight them. So it is what it is. Yeah, obviously, if you are the truther, then that's the whole issue. You have to do it yourself, right? So if you are the Kyle Pitts truther and you have him, you're not going to get what you're looking for. So you have to be willing to accept the market prices are around there, right? If I know somebody a couple years ago when he was a rookie, somebody offered me George Kittle in a first, and that first turns out to be it was freaking a really early first, and I was just no, not doing it. Kyle Pitts, baby. I would much rather just ride with George Kittle on the chaos that is him and had that early first, right? Obviously, that is not the time and place where you could be at right now because, that Kyle Pitts hype has gone down a lot. But there are ways to move him around to get him off your roster and, you don't have to worry about it. And if you want to ride, if you want to just buckle up on this roller coaster, just be prepared for a bumpy ride. It's going to be Yeah, exactly right. So that's the thing. The people that have him now are going to be holding on to that sunk cost theory, right? So that's the thing. You're oh, but his value, it's going to go back up. It's only so low. I can't sell him now. It's the sunk cost theory kills you. So that the people that roll with that, which I see happen far too often, they're oh, I want these prices for him. It's dude, that's not the price. That's not his price anymore. You have to just live with it. So this gets more into game theory and what can you do with Kyle Pitts and how can you flip him or how can you move him? You can find ways. I'm sure a lot of people still have a hefty portion of him in Dynasty. In redraft, it's a little bit more tricky because it's redraft. People they care about points, particular points. And Kyle Pitts is tight end. I'm not even sure what he is, but it's not good. Let me see. Let's go tight end scoring and take a look. I'll look at this. Because it's below, if I know. I think he's tight end 13 on points per game basis, but I'm not 100% sure. We're going to check this out. Oh, yeah, that's fun. Oh, fun fact. His teammate, Jonnu Smith, is actually outscoring him on a points per game basis. So, yeah, he's at 9. Jonnu Smith is at 9.5 points per game. That's lovely. Things we love to see, right? And he's being outscored by Logan Thomas, Cole Kmet, Dalton Schultz. Are you hearing these names that are outscoring Kyle Pitts? That. Those are just red flags, man. It's so frustrating. And you can excuse away the injuries, but how many excuses do we got to put up for this guy? And I was one of the biggest Kyle Pitts truthers. So in this past year, you've seen me slowly start to move off of Kyle Pitts like the ways where I traded him away in the offseason in a couple of deals. I moved him in season. I've just kind of just been like slowly just being like, you know what? I'm fine just like watching this from afar because you can do this is the whole Gabe Davis thing, right? Where you can like the player. It could just be whatever. If it's not best ball, it's like you don't know when to start that guy. Like it's just like, you know what? Hands off. And it's okay to be hands off with players like this. It's just they're too volatile. Like you can't count him on a week-to-week basis. Like you think he's there. And when you do rankings and projections, he's always gonna be top 12 guy because there's only so many guys like each week, right? You look at it, you're like, all right, am I gonna rank him above Ingram? Am I gonna rank him above Njoku? Am I gonna rank him above Schultz? And you're like, when it starts getting to those questions, you really have to check yourself as a dynasty player and be like, all right, what do we do with this, right? Like these are the hard decisions you have to make as a dynasty manager. Like, where do I go from here? And the way like I look at him now is he still holds enough value. Like he's not killing you by any means. Like he's killing you, but from a value perspective, he's not killing you. So like you go to his page on Keep Trade Cut. I know like Keep Trade Cut, it's just easy to use. You can go to Bulletproof if you guys want. But if you look at these values, right? Like Devontae Adams, George Pickens, you can get a first for him, Michael Pittman, Nico Collins. Like, yeah, dude, like if you're gonna give me Nico Collins, like, yeah, I'll take Michael Pittman, Nico Collins. I'll take those guys, no problem for him, which is actually a fun way. So if you want to just use these to give yourself ideas, this is what like these trade calculators and market things are. It's just ideas. Like you don't have to make these trades, but it's like, you know what? Do you like that trade? Okay. Go look at the top players. Like go down the list. If you go to rankings, like sometimes it's just really easy. You just go dynasty rankings, right? And you just start going down the list and you'd be like, all right, where's the point? It's like, all right, this is the guy I won't trade him for. Like, so you go here, you're like, all right, Devontae Smith. No, I'm not going to do that. Go down Cooper Kupp. It's like you find this range of players and you go down. The farther you go down, the more value you can get, right? So if you want to go all the way with it, you can go all the way with it. But this is what I mean by being just being proactive in Dynasty instead of being reactive. Be the one that's willing to make the move and go do it. Like be out in front of it. Because if you're left holding the bag at a certain point, like if he keeps burning us the rest of this season, which I expect him to do, like his value is going to hit on the tank. We're not far enough like through the year. Yep, exactly. Like this is exactly what you do. But look, it's a fair trade, and obviously this comes with the caveat: you have to know your league, right? And you have to know the people in your league. Some people won't put up with that. Like they'll be like, "No, that's BS. I ain't doing that." So like, if it works, cool. Use it to your advantage. If it doesn't, start up conversations with trade chats. Like, go look for players you're willing to trade them for. If you want to look at other teams, like some teams rebuilding, they have these veteran assets. Go do that deal. Like I know Aaron was trying to do Cooper Kupp this morning, and he's offered in JSN, and the guy wouldn't do it as a rebuilder, and I was like, that's just idiotic. Like go move him with Cooper Kupp if you're worried about it. Like I don't, you know what I mean? Like and obviously you need to be a contender to do that because Cooper Kupp is old as dirt, right? So these are things you have to be careful with what you're doing. But yeah, if I like. Yeah, exactly, right? So you have to know your league. This is what I mean. Like we give like this wholesale advice, but like to distill it down to your individual league, you know your team, you know your league better than anybody else and how that works and how to go about turning that into success for you. So you know the other managers, you know what they like, you know what they don't like. You've been in these leagues a long time, right? So it's up to you as a manager to orchestrate deals that work out for both parties. It's okay. You don't have to just get overwhelming smash. Like you can do deals that win for both parties. It's okay. If it makes your team better in the end, I don't care if it's considered a loss on trade calculator, whatever. Like I'll do trades where I'm like, I don't care. I like that better. Like the value in the market doesn't work out. I'm like, whatever. Like I don't use the market values. Like I use my own values. So like, use what works for you. And then the further you go away from like market values, the easier it is to get deals done, right? Because have a different set of values than everybody else. So people I know people in like certain amount of my leagues, they'll literally go to Keep Trade Cut or Bulletproof or anyone or DLF, right? And they'll do these value checks and they'll send me these offers. And I can just like right away, I can spot it. I'm like, all right. Cause they'll package a second, a third, a fourth, and a fifth. I'm like, what am I supposed to do with these fourth and fifth round picks? Like they mean nothing to me, right? Cause you'll see these, and we have it in the Dynasty League where you see some of these trades come through. Like some dudes did Stephon Diggs for like, what was it? It was like George Pickens, a first, and then it was just like 7 other picks on top of it. And I was like, what is going on here? I was like, I know we talk about always make sure you get an edge, but that's just like extremely over the top. I'm like, wait, you want all my fourths and all my fifths? Just like, no, kick rocks. Like, you don't need to do that. And yeah, it's Aaron's point right here. Like, he's like, yeah, for JSN, a second and 2/3. And it's like, dude, at that point, you just be like, all right, I got to go to the manager that has Diggs, or I got to go to the manager that has Cup, or I got to go to the manager that has Adams. Like, right? You just go like and you just find like guys you have similarly ranked to the next team. Because like I have one guy in my league, he's rebuilding. His team's been like rebuilding for 3 years. But he's got like Jacoby Myers. He had Kyron Williams, and he wouldn't trade these guys. And I was like, dude, they're doing you a disservice. Like, they're not helping you. And I'm a contender. I'm like, I'll take these guys. And he just didn't want to trade them. I'm like, well, sometimes you can't reason with people. That's part of it. It is what it is, right? And if they don't want to trade, it's like, well, screw it. All right, I'll go to the next team. Sometimes you just send offers out to all 11 of their league mates. You just go to the team, make a trade, just get in. This is like time-consuming process, particularly if you have a bunch of leagues like Aaron and myself do, where it's going to run you, 30, 45 minutes doing all of these deals, right? But that's what Sleeper's great. You just go and click a team, send out for Sunday. Like, you can just do this like that. And if it works, it's cool. It doesn't. But, like, you just have to be active with some of these guys and know yourself as a manager, know what you're willing to take. It's like, if you want to hold on to Pitts, that's your prerogative, but just be okay with him burning you on your teams, particularly a contending team. If you have Pitts on a contending team, if it's a rebuilding team, like, I get it. Like, the lack of points aren't really hurting you because you're probably not trying to win this year anyways. But on a contending team, like, this is the thing that's frustrating. It's like, all right, how far down am I willing to go on this value trade chart, right? Like, T. Higgins, another player that's burning you right now. Austin Eckler, a player that's like, there are a ton of these players down here that are struggling the lower. Josh Jacobs, not doing what he was supposed to do, right? Deebo Samuel, he's injured. Like, Christian Watson, another guy. Like, there's a lot of injured or like players that are burning you. James Cook, up and down roller coaster. Alvin Kamara, how far up are you willing to go on Alvin Kamara, right? Like, yeah, oh God, Jake Bobo. Just the name. He's the king. But like, I'm going to keep bringing him up every time he makes a play on all of our shows. Like, Bobo. But yeah, like, getting back to this, it's like, it's a contender. How far are you willing to pay for Alvin Kamara? Because Alvin Kamara is like the most expected fantasy points of all running backs in the NFL. So like, would you do Kyle Pitts for Alvin Kamara? Would you make that move? Like, Kamara's got a contract that's going to linger on. Like, if you look at, so I'll actually pull up his contract because it's actually pretty interesting. So if you want to look at a dynasty running back that is undervalued, it's Alvin Kamara, because look at this contract. So his contract is not a 1 year. It costs them a ton of money to get out of this contract. So like, they have a $16 million buyout. If you look at this, if I can make this, let's full screen that. So if we look at this contract, they freaking have to buy $16 million in dead cap this upcoming year to take him off the roster. And it's like, why would the Saints do that? That's just an idiotic decision. They're not going to do that. Oh yeah, the following year, it's $8 million in dead cap. Like, or sorry, that was $9 million, $9.7 million. So the next 2 years, it's $16.7 million and $9.7 million. Alvin Kamara is not leaving this roster unless he's like, it's wild. Yeah, it's just, he's okay. He's insulated. Like, he ain't going anywhere. It is interesting with Kendrick Miller, how he's done like nothing this year. So he's been kind of one of the bigger busts of those round 2 running backs, where he went in that a chain, Charbonnet, and that range of players, right? Where it was like, all right, the one guy I wanted Achane. Like, that was my guy of that group. He was my 110. Had Charbonnet. I had, Kendrick a little bit lower, but like, that's how close some of these decisions are, right? So imagine you're in that late 1 area, you go there. Oh, it says not connected. All right, there you are.
It just dawned on me. Instead of talking, I can crash the stream.
Welcome to the party. Yes.
I'm sitting here. I'm doing research and writing up an article, and then I was listening to it, and I spent more time talking shit in your comments than anything. So I'm like, I'll crash the stream. I dawned on me you're in the league winners one. I'm like, I have access to that.
Amazing, right? Yeah. So yeah, it's just like with Kyle Pitts in general. Like, after watching all that tape, it only just furthers my just hatred of what's going on in Atlanta. So I'm like, dude, I can't do this anymore. It's awful. Yeah. And him having that value, it's like, dude, you can get out. But yeah, like,
I only caught the end of the Kyle Pitts breakdown because I was at work, and I feel like it might have been better off that I didn't see the rest of it. It seemed like it would have been painful to watch.
If you want to have a pity party, go watch the game tape of what they're doing with Kyle Pitts.
No, I can't. You know what? I've got one I've got to work on later, and I don't know if I'm going to have the energy to do anything else, because after watching a Jameson Williams highlight package, I think I'm going to want to blow my brains out. So
that's brutal. Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, there's like, it's just a lot of these guys. It's the same situation, right?
It's
yeah, it's how it is sometimes. We swing and miss, and we live with it. And like, the thing with Pitts, he's still gonna hold value. Williams is going to have his value completely eroded. Like, if this keeps up, like, he's just going to be worthless. He's very much running that Rashad Bateman, like, timeline.
He's already worthless.
Yeah. Like, it's so bad for him. Yeah, like, this is what I love about Pitts is, like, his insulation is just through the roof still, where he's done nothing for 3 seasons, pretty much.
Well, no, he had one pretty good rookie year,
Yeah.
and it's held his value for 3 years, but
yeah.
yeah.
But like fantasy
all right,
points
I just
wise,
wanted to hijack your stream quickly. I'll let you get back to it. So,
all right, you're good, man. Thanks for stopping in.
You've been going an hour and 14 minutes on a Kyle Pitts video.
Yeah, we're about to shut this down here in a second.
You need a drink. All right,
I'm running out of SC, man. But yeah, we're gonna wrap this Kyle Pitts breakdown. Yeah, you gotta be a part of this and live this with me. So I hope you all enjoyed this breakdown. We're going next week. I have an idea of who I want to do. I'm going to see how this week goes. I do kind of want to go more positive route with someone who is really just doing everything that we haven't seen for a while from a really older running back. And our league winners, we've been breaking down a lot of wide receivers, but I'm thinking about breaking down the Raheem Mostert tape and just how good he's been in that offense. It wasn't a great game, but welcome back, Aaron. Yeah, so that's kind of like a tidbit of what I'm going to focus on next week is I'm going to dive into the Dolphins offense to watch some fun and just how incredible Raheem Mostert's been in that offense. Like, so yeah, it'll be the opposite of how this one feels because man, it is brutal. But I want to thank y'all for coming in this week. It was an adventure. You know, I wanted to cry. We did not cry, but the emotion was there. I felt the pain in my heart for Kyle Pitts. I had to pour one out. If I had a drink, I would have been on screen. But yeah, that's it. This is the life of the tight end in a bad offense with a bad quarterback and a coach who is not really passing a lot. That's kind of the trifecta of holy fuck, this sucked. So yeah, that's Kyle Pitts breakdown. You will check out all the rest of the stuff on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter. You know, James J Muller 05 right there. So that's that, and we'll put this one up on the podcast as well. So that's it. And take care, folks. We'll see you next week to do Miami Dolphins Raheem Mostert breakdown, which will be a lot more fun than this one. Take care.